all set.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the July 23rd meeting of the Village of Fishkill Planning Board. I will ask the secretary to take a roll call of the board members to establish a quorum. When the board member answers, please signify that you are alone to prevent undue influence. Would the secretary please take a roll call?
Okay, we have Chairman Hans Klingson,
Here.
board members Teresa Cucciolo,
Here, and I am alone.
board member Raylene Van Gelderen,
Yes, and I am alone.
alternate board member Brian Gaston.
Here, and I'm alone.
Also present, we have Tom Vantine, Code Enforcement Officer, our village planner, Sarah Brown, Planning Board's attorney, Victoria Polidoro, the village engineer, Larry Paggi, myself, Angela Arison, village clerk, and let the record show that's absent are board members Stephen Brown and Suzanne Speziali.
Okay, thank you. We do have a quorum. Brian, you will be a voting member tonight.
Okay.
Okay. I have confirmed with the board council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the governor's March 13th, 2020 Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via teleconference in accordance with the executive order. The public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. I have done a roll call of the board members, and there is a quorum present for this meeting. I have also confirmed with the board secretary that this meeting has been duly noticed and will have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notices in the village's bulletin board and news organizations, etc., and posting notices on the village agendas center of this website. Also, be it advised here that even though this is being recorded, our secretary is taking notes. So when speaking, identify yourself, please, so she knows who is speaking. For example, Mr. Chairman, Tom Vantine speaking. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June 18th and July 2nd meetings.
Mr. Chairman, Raylene Van Gelderen, I make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, Teresa Cucciolo, I second.
Okay, I have a motion second on the floor. Will the secretary take a roll call vote, please?
Brian, vote.
I agree.
Raylene,
Yes,
Teresa,
Yes.
Hans,
Yes.
carried.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Wellesley Center, 953, 961 Main Street for a public comment session. For members of the audience, this is not a session of which to speak. This is a session for the seeker process only. We will entertain, this gives you an opportunity to address the board and tell them your concerns on this project. This is also known as the Nazarene Church Project. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Victoria.
Hi, everyone. So SEEKR is the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and the planning board is required to consider the environmental impacts of all the projects that come before the board. And so they have scheduled this special meeting so that members of the public can express concerns about environmental impacts of this proposed project, which is before you. We're going to ask that everyone limit their comments to 3 minutes each, just because there's a lot of people here that wish to comment. And your comments will be recorded. You may not get an answer tonight. The purpose of this, again, is for the board to hear your comments and then to go back and consider them. So it may be that they say thank you and that you know, your comment will be taken under consideration. Unless there's any questions from any of the board members, I'm going to turn it over to the applicant's team for a brief presentation, and then we will open it up for comment. And I will be calling members of the public one by one.
So sure, I'll step in at this point. My name's Neil Alexander. I'm a partner at the law firm of Cuddy and Fader here, and on behalf of the applicants, along with me, as always, is Joe Modafferi from JMC, Bill Brothers from FCON, as well as Reverend Ron Pankey, and other representatives of our project team are here as well. It's good to be with all of you again, as you know, but the public may not have been as aware of. But we talked about it at the early part of July. This project has actually officially been in front of the planning board for over a year now. Along the way, we've received a lot of comment from the public already, from the consulting team for the village, from outside agencies, and other experts relative to the various specialties surrounding this application. We have taken all of that in, and in the end of April, I think on May 1st actually was the actual date, there was a substantial submission of a revised project, changing the way the project worked within the scope of the programmatics that we've always had, namely the senior housing, the church, and the daycare. That was followed up 2 weeks later with an expanded environmental assessment for that form that was submitted. It was approximately 93 pages long, detailing every aspect relative to traffic, water, utilities, historic, all the various other state and county agencies that have jurisdiction over this. I'm going to basically at this juncture pretty quickly hand this off to Joe Modafferi, who's not going to take you through all 93 pages again. And we did that, I think, pretty significantly earlier this month, where we went page by page, but rather give you more of an overview of the ins and outs of the project as it stands as a result of the journey it has been on over the past year. And so that way we can facilitate and foster comment from the public. Obviously, when we went granularly through the 93 pages at the last meeting, we received, follow-up comments from your consultant team, many of which we have answers for. Many other agencies like DOT have come in and given us conceptual approval at this point, which I think is incredibly salient and important to note. And something we'll probably talk about several times during the course of the evening. So I guess with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Joe Modafferi from JMC, who's obviously the site civil engineering firm of record on this project. And thank you, and it's great to see all of you by Zoom.
Good evening, everyone. Again, for the record, my name is Joe Modafferi with JMC, civil engineer, landscape architect, site planner for the project. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to go through some stuff on the presentation on the project. And I'll apologize now that I will be looking at a different screen over on this side. I won't be looking at the camera while I'm talking to you. So the screen I have the presentation on is a little bigger than the screen with the camera on it. So again, as Mr. Alexander said, we're here for the Wesley Center and your board consultants have said, the Wesley Center Planning Board public hearing for secret review that's related to the rezoning, zoning text amendment, zoning board of appeals approval, and special permit approval for this project. And Sarah, I just saw an admit pop up. I know you have
Joe, I made you a co-host so you could share, but we're going to take care of admitting folks. You can just focus on your presentation.
I just wanted to make sure you could see. That's all. I didn't want to be mad that they didn't get to see. So that's all right. So to start off, I know, as Neil said, we've been here in front of your board and other boards for about a year, but there may be some people on the phone here or on the call here are not familiar with the project. So I'll start quickly with the existing conditions of the site. The site is currently the Church of the Nazarene on Route 52 Main Street here in the village. To the west is the town village line along their property boundary here, and then it bisects their property as well. So along 52, the property is in the village, but at the northerly end of the property, there is a portion of the property that they own and use that is within the town. A total of about 7.35 acres, with about 4 3/4 acres in the village and about 2.5 acres in the town. Currently, the area of the village is currently zoned R10, and the area in the town is zoned R20. On-site structures include the existing church and the office, I guess it's called the Education Building, historically houses the office for the church and a small Chinese church. And then on the town parcel, there is 2 residential units that serve as parsonages. So the graphic on the screen here now just shows you that, again, the existing site is R10 in the village, and the site to the east, or the area to the east, is VCBD. Under the proposed condition, the site would be in the village, would be zoned VCBD. It involves construction of senior living facility at the rear of the site and a child care facility adjacent to the existing church. The existing church and the education building would be in place, and then of the associated site improvements, parking, landscaping, utilities, etc. The senior living community proposed would have 103 dwelling units mixed with studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And the daycare center would have 6 classrooms to serve 108 students with 12 staff members. And then also proposed is a potential bus shelter along Route 52. And then we are also proposing a connection between the church site and the adjacent Cecilwood Health Center, which would allow people on this site to gain access to the signalized intersection at the Cecilwood Health Center driveway. To touch on the proposed zoning text amendment, the text amendment that we're looking for approval of is to allow a senior living community as a special permit use within the VCBD district. There are certain requirements to be able to have that use as a special use. Can be within a mixed use or be on a site by itself as a standalone use. Minimum acreage of contiguous land associated with the use has to be 3.5 acres. You have to have 125 feet of frontage along a state or county highway, and you have to have primary access from that state or county highway. For the senior living facility, the maximum height would be 3 stories and 40 feet, except that there's an increase of 1 foot for every 50 feet setback from the state or county highway permitted, to a maximum of 4 stories and 46 feet. Also, the project or the senior living facility must be served by municipal water and sewer. A maximum building footprint of 34,500 and serve residents 62 years in age or older. Parking requirements would be 1 per unit plus 1 per employee, and then 5% of the total units for visitors. Again, the site is accessed from Route 2. We spoke about the cross connection with Cecilwood Health Center. There is a loop around the senior living facility and through the site to allow free maneuverability, and also sidewalks throughout the site and along Route 52 to encourage pedestrian circulation. Parking on the site, we have 265 spaces proposed, including those on the Cecilwood Health Center property, where when you calculate the entire need for the uses as a standalone use, it is 292 spaces required. We've submitted a shared parking study and provide a very conservative shared parking study and provided proof that this site can operate with the number of spaces we've provided. It will require a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, but your traffic consultant has found the study acceptable. Also with traffic, we submitted an extensive traffic study where we studied the intersection or the access to our site and the access from the Cecilwood site. Did counts on a weekday, Saturday, and Sunday, included accident analysis and some other detail. This traffic study has been found acceptable to your traffic consultant and also the NYSDOT. Earlier today, I provided an email to your consultants that was provided from the NYSDOT, which indicated that they have granted stage 1 conceptual approval of the project. To touch on, again, some other variances that we will need is for the daycare and existing buildings to remain, or essentially for the daycare and the existing buildings to remain. First one is the increase in the maximum footprint of buildings in the DCBD, where the maximum permitted is 5,000 square feet. Through working with building inspector and others in the town, we've determined that the child care facility and the church would be considered one structure. And I think the footprint was, the overall footprint was a little over 10,000 square feet. I don't remember exactly, maybe 11 or 12. And the other one, detail or variance that we would need is the minimum distance from Main Street or Route 52. So the code indicates that buildings should be 150 feet back from Route 52, but because we are working with existing buildings, the existing church and the existing education center, pre-existing, we're going to request a variance for those to make it more legal. And because the child care facility would be in line with the church and the office, you know, fitting in within that context, we will need a variance for that. Grading, drainage, and floodplain, we've provided a significant or a substantial set of plans showing grading, stormwater pollution prevention plan analysis with piping designed, and also looked at the floodplain where we have a slight decrease in the flood storage under proposed conditions. The documents that we've provided have indicated that the impacts of this project on that will be mitigated by the various systems we've provided. We provided a storage system for the flood waters, and then a grouping of porous pavement and infiltration systems that will treat the stormwater impacts. Utilities, again, the project will be served by municipal sewer and water. The things that came up with during the discussions over the past year were, or one of the things was the connection of a water main through our site from your existing pump station here, through our site, and then through the town portion of the site and up Lawrence Avenue to Wood Place. The applicant has agreed to show this water main connection on the plans at the request of the village engineer. We've coordinated this with your water department as well. The applicant has also been working with the fire department to make sure that they are satisfied with different things. At a meeting on July 6th, they requested that the water main be looped around the senior living facility, and the applicant has agreed to do that as well. Again, coordinated with the water department. Includes a fuel cell, which is an efficient way to provide electric or power and climate control to the senior living facility. And it was pointed out that there may be some safety concerns of the fire department. And during that meeting on July 6th, we spoke to them, and they were presented some information by the supplier of the fuel cell, and they found that the fuel cell, or they were satisfied with their safety concerns. Another question that was raised by the town engineer was the noise of the fuel cell, somewhat like a generator, I guess. So we are working, the applicant is currently working on retaining a noise consultant. I will provide a report as soon as that is done to the board. And, you know, obviously we're concerned about this too, because the closest residents to this are ours. So, you know, they're much closer than any of the other residents, whether they're in the village or the town or whatever. So we want to make sure this works for everybody, including ourselves. In terms of the fuel cell and other fire department issues, we will continue to keep the fire department apprised through the process. I just want to, okay, there it is. Couldn't see my slide changer because I got the admit on top of the thing there. Sorry about that. So just to run through the architecture quick, what's on the screen now is the basement elevation, or the cellar plan and the first floor plan for the senior living facility. The cellar plan will be mechanical space only. And then the first floor will have residences on the two wings of the U, and then the middle of the U will serve as more communal and operational type space. Something I didn't touch on presenting the site plan was that in the previous iterations, the front door of the senior living facility was facing Route 52. We've now transitioned the front door of the senior living facility to face the town portion of the property. And that allows us to make the central portion of the area between the U more of a green, more pleasant looking space. Just go back to, doesn't want to go, oh, spinning. All right, well, while it's trying to switch, this slide, what I had wanted to mention on the review of the building was that the central.
Oh, Joe, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
A member of the public is asking you to speak closer to the microphone and to turn up your volume because it's been a little difficult to hear you.
Okay, let me see if I can move my computer up a little closer, if that helps. Is this a little better?
I can hear you better.
Okay. For some reason, it appears that my Acrobat has stopped here. So let me just see if I can get it to respond here. I apologize. But I'll keep talking while it's trying to do that. As I mentioned earlier, the zoning text amendment allows for the senior living facility or a portion of the senior living facility to be increased in height from 3 stories and 30 feet to 4 stories and 46 feet. Our project is designed where the central portion of the U is designed at 4 stories, right in this location here. So, but the central portion of the U is designed with a flat roof and a flat or mansard style roof, sort of mimic the roof part of the education building. And because of that, the 4-story roof will not extend visibly any higher than the of the 3-story portion. So this is a section of our project where the top of the roof, or the measured portion of the angled roof on the 3-story is measured from the middle of the angled portion, but when you have a flat roof, it's measured from the top of the roof. You can see here that, again, from a visual standpoint, the 4-story portion on this project will not extend above the 4-story or the 3-story portion. This slide is showing the remaining floors of the senior living facility and the roof. So the second and third plans are basically all residential. They pretty close to mimic each other. The only difference is that on the second floor, there's a patio out of some of the units because the first floor extends out beyond it. So that gives the opportunity for some outdoor space for some of those second floor units. And then again, the 4-story units, the 4-story portion is just the central portion of the U. And again, will be residential units. And then the other slide shows again the roof, flat portion of the roof in the central portion, and the pitched roofs along the legs of the U. These are just some elevations of the different views of the building, showing the architecture. And again, just to show that the 4-story portion in the middle will not extend above the 3-story portion, and also to give you a sense of the architecture of the building. Moving into the daycare facility that will be constructed adjacent to the church. There is a 2-story for that. This is the first floor. Okay. Something. All right. So that image. Am I going to have problems with this now? I apologize. It appears that this is locking up on me again and not showing. I'm going to try a different program to open up. See if this helps. Uh, All right. Oh, did we get it back? Let's see. No. So those were some elevations of the church. This is a bird's eye view of the site, showing the context of the whole site and how it fits in with the church, the daycare or the education building and the surrounding community. And again, not responding.
Joe, I think it's just on a little bit of a delay. Give it a bit, and if
Yeah.
not, I can always I have that presentation to share from my screen if need be.
Okay. We'll let it, there it goes. So as part of the analysis, your board has, and your consultants have seen this already. We looked at what the context would be of the, of the sight lines from a person walking or driving down Main Street. Just showing what they would see. How much would they see from beyond the existing church or the daycare facility when it's constructed, and or the education building, which when you see the a good portion of the building or the senior living facility is somewhat not visible when you're looking on the street in the different views. But you can also see that when you're looking back, it fits into the context in terms of height, et cetera. So, although it's a 3-story structure, it doesn't have that appearance because it's set back that much further. See if this one comes up. We're not getting slide 14 either. I'm not sure why, but we're not getting slide 14 either. I apologize for the delay. Slide 14 was another sightline analysis. I can try to get that up in a little while, but
Joe, why don't you go back to 10 if you can see if 10 will come up, because the two are very similar. Just one's flatter than the other.
Yeah,
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, so let me see.
So I'll jump in while you try and play that through a little bit. And part of what we would love to show, and has been submitted in more detail, but is visible when you look at this slide 11, is that when you drop a person or a car, remember, a person in a car is not only moving, but is also at 42 inches in height, versus a person obviously is in excess of 5 feet. But what starts to happen as you move from the core of the village out, as you're looking at it from the Cecilwood Medical Office building and moving, to the west, is that the education building provides an interruption in the near field from the fact that the senior building is in the back. So what happens is as you go from, sort of right to left on the screen on that past shot, as a person's walking down the street or a car's walking down the street, is that because the sorry, let me try it this way. Even though the education building and the daycare building and the church building are smaller, they're closer. And so it's like holding a piece of paper up against your face, right? Your view around that piece of paper is significantly interrupted because you can't necessarily see much around the corners of that piece of paper. Obviously, that's an extreme example of it, but here what we've tried to do is use that to the advantage and set the building farther back. So even though it's taller, it actually doesn't create any increase in the angle. It's sort of the angle of the viewer from Main Street is the same relative to height as you get over distance. And that's what the green arrow in the upper right-hand corner is starting to show you. So that's really what we were trying to portray with those slides. And then obviously 11 and 15 are showing you essentially how the site interacts with itself.
All right. Let me try this. I got it on a different program and it appears to be playing. So this was slide 10, again, showing elevations of the church building that we were talking about. And then bird's eye view again, the visual analysis. This is the one that we looked at previously. And then this is from, these are views from both Wheaton Avenue and then from Florence Avenue. Just showing what it would be anticipated to look like.
Joe, just to interrupt you for a second there. Oops, if you go back, in the view D, in the center of your of the middle field, that is a structure that's interrupting the view of the rest of that. That's a I guess it would be a home based on that view.
Yes, that's correct.
So again, so the street view is not being able to see the entirety of the building. Its massing is interrupted.
Yes. Right. And then in terms of, again.
Sorry, one other thing I wanted to interrupt on, I apologize.
Yep, that's all right.
Is so on the way back of this slide is the church's own, because I think some folks may not be as aware of this, that the fact that the church's own property, as you're hovering, is at the back of that. So those are two parsonages on the church's own property. Just to give context in that bird's eye view.
That's correct. So just to touch on again, the reason we're here this evening is related to SECRA. As Mr. Alexander indicated, we submitted an EAF supplemental report that was 90+ pages with a significant amount of information in it. I just want to take a minute and summarize a few things related to that. Key environmental conditions and potential impacts. We looked at the neighborhood character and what does fitting with the neighborhood character mean? It means compliance with the comprehensive plan, their policies, goals, and recommendations and strategies. So we looked at the comprehensive plan from, I think it was, I forget the date of it, but the latest one, was it 90 or was it 2009? I can't remember, but so just to touch on some of those. And one of them was enhance and establish gateways. This project in and of itself is a gateway. It sits right on the town village line. We are providing sidewalks and landscaping along the frontage, really trying to beautify the site. Encourage neighborhood civic associations to identify collective concerns and organize community involvement. The church is, in and of itself, a neighborhood organization, and it recognized a need for the senior housing and the daycare, which is why they're here with their partners in front of you today. Encourage businesses to the population of the village center, especially pedestrians, and especially for pedestrians and senior citizens. We're providing pedestrian circulation, and we're providing housing for senior citizens. Require new development and redevelopment to be harmonious with the setting, scale,
Just a reminder for everyone to stay muted until the presentation's over.
Okay. So require new development and redevelopment to be harmonious with the setting, scale, and design of the surrounding architecture. We worked hard to try to make the architecture itself fit in with the architecture around it. As I mentioned earlier, the mansard style roof on the 4-story section was kind of mimicked from the portion of the education building. And the rest of the architecture is trying to mimic some of the other features in the area. Encourage a variety of housing, including multifamily. This is a multifamily use with the senior living. Consider inclusionary zoning that would require 10% moderately priced housing. This applicant, it will propose or will have 10% of its units available at a moderately priced for people that can afford that moderately priced unit. Implement good access management, consolidate driveways, distribute traffic to controlled intersections. So currently the existing site for the church has 3 driveways. We are reducing it from 3 to 2. And we're also, as I said before, making this connection between the Wesley Center property and the Cecilwood Health Center property to allow for access to the signalized intersection. Maintain and extend sidewalks to facilitate pedestrian access. Again, we're providing sidewalks along the frontage and sidewalks throughout our site to facilitate pedestrian access. Provide pedestrian amenities such as benches, sidewalks, bus shelters. We're proposing, again, sidewalks. We're looking to incorporate a bus shelter along Main Street. Protect surface and groundwater. As I said earlier, we have an extensive stormwater pollution prevention plan that we've designed to help protect the stormwater associated with this project. Provide multifamily housing within the central business area along Main Street. Again, this is the senior living community is a multifamily project. Preserve the appearance of the village while allowing mixed-use developments. We think that we've done a good job of preserving the village appearance. And again, this is a multi-use or a mixed-use development. Related to visual impacts, traffic, utilities, stormwater, and floodplains for seeker. I discussed all of those earlier and everything that we've done for that. Archaeologic history, we submitted letters related to that and got a letter from OPRHP stating that based upon this review, it is the opinion of OPRHP that no properties, including archaeological and/or historic resources listed in or eligible for the New York State or National Register of Historic Places will be impacted by this project. Endangered species. We had dialogue with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. They identified that there may be Indiana bat on our site. And with mitigation for that is to limit tree removal during certain periods of time in the year. This project and this applicant will comply with that requirement. Just to reiterate and conclude the presentation, the Part 2 EAF of the EAF identified potential resources that could be affected by the proposed project or action. The submitted report provided a conservative summary of how the potential effects on these resources would be mitigated by the construction of the project, and which we feel that none of them really fall into the moderate to large impact. Rather, they would be the no or small impact may occur. The report also considers factors such as the magnitude, severity, size, and extent of an impact, as well as assesses the importance of each impact, which we touched on. And the report has been submitted to assist your board in making its secret determination of significance. The applicant asserts that the report identified the relevant areas of environmental concern, took a hard look at them, and made reasoned elaboration of the basis for substantiating a determination that the implementation of the project action as currently proposed will not result in any significant impact to the environment and would overall be a positive fiscal impact. So, you know, that covers the full project. I don't know if, Neil, you have any final notes that you want to put in before we
No, I think that was wonderful. I think that was very detailed. We tried to, sorry, I got a little long there, but we're trying to show you how exhaustive and thorough our research and the data that we've provided objectively that has been generated by our experts and shared with yours to review and measured up based on, you know, municipal review and also state and county agencies with jurisdiction. So at this point, Chairman, thank you for letting us explain all that. You know, we're ready to answer any questions from the board or listen to the public, whatever you would prefer to do at this time.
I think we'll go to the public at this time. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, Chairman, do you want me to call individuals to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay, so everyone just bear with me because the way that the Zoom is set up, sometimes people move, but I will get to everyone. So the first person on the list is someone named Ginny's iPhone. Please unmute yourself, and then I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock.
Hi, I think it's a wonderful project, and I think it's very needed in this community. And I want to thank you very much for the presentation.
Okay, is that everything?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next person up is Gonzalo Quintana. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Gonzalo Quintana. I've been a member of this community since 1965 when I began teaching in the Wappinger Central School District. I have taught at all 4 secondary schools for 20 years. I'm now a retired teacher, a senior citizen, if you will. I fully endorse the well thought out and well planned Wesley residence for seniors. This project will enable many seniors from our community to have access to beautiful, comfortable housing in case they're downsizing due to empty nests or any other reasons. We have always loved the village of Fishkill. Our favorite restaurants are here, our church is here, our pizza shop is here, my barber is here. What a wonderful idea it is for our seniors, people who have worked with us their entire lives, to be able to walk to all of the wonderful things Fishkill has to offer. The library, the drugstore, the Alp Sweet Shop, the medical center, the farmer's market. As you may know, senior housing is extremely difficult to find in this area, none in Fishkill. A project like the Wesley residence, the Wesley Center, is much needed. I fully endorse this project and would like to ask those who may be opposed to consider our seniors, to think beyond themselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next person up is Charlie PC. Please unmute yourself. Charlie PC, are you there? Okay, we'll come back to you at some point. After that, it's Michelle Olson. Please unmute yourself, and I'm putting 3 minutes on.
Yeah, hi. My question is, and I am coming from a gerontological perspective, so keeping that in mind, I am all about housing for older adults and certainly the interconnection with children, but I just wasn't clear on the cost. I didn't quite catch that. It was 10% moderately priced units, so I wasn't sure what moderately meant and what is the cost of these apartments for older adults. You know, so that was my question. I want to know what is affordable. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. If the applicant wants, I mean, you can answer that one.
Yeah, I think we're going to collect them all and then we'll answer all of them at the end, but at the risk of making you have to wait for the rest of the night on something like that. The market rate units will obviously be market rate, which we have to figure out through our market study exactly where that's going to sit. And then the affordable units will be more than likely up to 80% AMI.
Okay. Charlie PC. Are you,
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. I'm a member of the church and a member of the team that is presenting this project. And I want to say that we did go through a process that brought us to the need for senior living. We had started with assisted living. We did an extensive market study, and it turns out that this is a tremendous need in the village, and not only in the village, but in the surrounding area. And it's unfortunate that seniors that have contributed to our area for so many years are forced to leave because there isn't housing when they downsize from their large homes. And I think this really answers that need.
okay, is that everything?
Yes.
Okay. The next person is Anne Lagoy. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I am really adamantly opposed to the project as it's presented. Even tonight, there's several discrepancies that I'm a little bit confused about. The education center that is now being mentioned, up until this point, I had always heard it referred to as a daycare or a nursery. So until I went and attended the Church of the Nazarene, which I thank them for holding a meeting back when we could all meet, that was nice. But there was mention of it actually being a special education school for students that were not able to attend public schools. So I was a little bit confused how it's being presented now, daycare, nursery, or education center, or all of the above. So, and I really can appreciate the view shed, you know, the piece of paper, Mr. Alexander. It's kind of like the David, when you're standing below and you look up, it's proportionally, so it looks like you're looking at someone in context instead of, you know, a much larger head as opposed to the feet. So I live behind this project. So that view shed would not be as pleasant. Certainly. And I do understand there are houses that are blocking that, but that's a pretty big behemoth. So, you know, again, and I also do have the concern as far as the affordable housing, because
prior to the current project, it was always referred to as it was not an affordable housing project. And now it's being referred to as, I guess, a portion of it now is affordable housing. You know, some of the numbers that were being shared at that meeting at the church were pretty substantial. You know, I'm actually, you know, my mother and I are considering senior housing. So I certainly can appreciate, you know, having appropriate housing for seniors. And I love having something in the center of town, walkable communities as they're called. I think that's great, but 103 units, so it's been reduced apparently by 7. So is it no longer 110 units, or is it 103 now? Regardless, now it's 4 stories instead of 3 stories. And I understand it doesn't raise the roof at all. It's still with the 45 feet. That's a pretty substantial height. You know, again, water, sewage.
Sorry, we're getting down to time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to reiterate, I'm completely opposed to this project.
Thank you. The next person to speak is Terry The Verge. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I just want to say that I'm 100% in favor of this project. I think it has a lot of good things for the village and for the community, and I just ask the board members to take that in consideration and make their final decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Brian Rye, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, how are you? I live on Florence Avenue, so I do have a couple of concerns. The first and foremost thing that I have to say is initially I was against this project, but I don't believe that I am now. I won't go into that listing of what changed my mind. But you are running a water sewer line down Florence. I just want to be assured that I'm, as a property owner in this area, are not going to be forced to pay or have a fee or be a part of a district that has an ongoing payment for 30 years for this thing, that's on you and not us. Another thing is the traffic management. I think you are thinking that through, there's no doubt, but when you go through the adjacent property, the medical property, and come out, I'm wondering if you can require people who are coming out of that at the traffic light, who are going to turn a left out of that property, to go through that traffic light. That would be a major concern. I do also want to ask that I know you have a lot of plan and a lot of thought and engineering going into water management, runoff management, permeable surfaces, and other sort of things that are going on. Having gone to the church meeting, but also run into some people who are involved in this project and asked some extensive questions, it sounds extremely thorough. But if for some reason we find that this is, you know, problematic and not necessarily working, can we come back and work to mitigate that issue? And we open to that. So those are my main concerns: is traffic direction coming out of the property, especially taking a left. The water issue ongoing, making sure that we're monitoring that and making sure it works as designed, but also the fees and expense that are going into bringing in power, water, sewer, that no residences in the area are going to be required to pay for any of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria, can I speak a minute here?
Sure.
To address your situation, your answers onto, or the question as to the water and sewer, there would only be a water line. The water line would be owned by the village of Fishkill. There would not be, I repeat, not be any cost to any town or village resident if a town resident or yourself living on that at one time wishes to tie into that line, you would have to go to the town board to ask permission to go to the village board to tie into the line. And at that point, a water meter would be put on your house and you would only pay the water that you use. There was no sewer, so you would not be in any kind of a sewer situation. So any line going through there, it would be a water line and it would be of no cost. There is no districts or anything to that effect. So I just wanted to put that to rest. I know that was a major issue for some people. Does that answer your question, sir?
Thank you very much. It does.
Okay, the next person up is someone just labeled as iPhone. Please unmute yourself. Okay, we'll give you some time. We're going to move on to a person identified as Donna. Please unmute yourself, identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Donna Kraus. I actually have a business on Main Street in Fishkill for the past 9 years and live in Wappingers. I am 100% behind this project. I have parents that are, my father is 86, my mother is 79, and they are still holding their own, but it's coming close, and this will give an opportunity for us to have a reason to stay in the area. And I've been following this project, and my eyes were open wide tonight to see the detail and everything that's gone into it to ensure all of the concerns that everybody has had. And I have no questions, and I have, I'm in awe of how, what it can do for us here. We're in such trying times. People are out of work. Everybody is upside down with what's going on in our world right now. And I think having something like this and not having to worry about, you know, I won't have to worry about my family if that's what we decide to do. And jobs opening up, because that's going to create jobs as well. So I'm 100% behind it, and I thank you guys for being as thorough as you have been, because it has satisfied any concerns that I had had.
Thank you. The next person up is Jerry and Lynn. If you're there, someone identified as Jerry and Lynn, please unmute yourself, identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Jerry and Lynn, are you there? Okay, we can come back to you. Liz Russett. Liz Russett, are you there?
Hi. I didn't realize I was on the agenda.
Maybe turn your volume on.
I don't know what that is. Okay, I just want to say that I'm 100% in favor of this project. I'm a woman of a certain age that's going to be looking for senior housing at some point. And this housing would keep me within the area that I'm familiar with. All of my questions have been answered thoroughly, completely. The building is visually appealing. It's close to everything I would need. And I just want to reiterate that I am 100% in favor of this project. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right. Leon Wu. Oh, he's with the project team.
Yes, he is.
Okay, and Lauren Pressler. Lauren P.
Hi, I just wanted to say I'm in favor of the project, and I'm really impressed with all the research that's been done, and I appreciate the thoroughness of the presentation tonight. So that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Seth, please unmute yourself, identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi there. I just wanted to also say that I'm completely in favor of this project. I have aging parents that are definitely looking for a service like this, and there's a real scarcity for these kind of resources in the area. And quite frankly, my wife doesn't want them to move in with us, so we're definitely looking forward to this option. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amelia, please unmute yourself, identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Amelia. Okay, we can come back to you. Catherine Gam, I can't see your full name, but Catherine Gamb. Do you want to comment?
Yes, my name is Catherine Gambino, and I also attended the meeting at the church. I am not in favor of this project because of the scale and because of the traffic. My mother lives in a home that I purchased for her in the village of Fishkill, and on days when, every day when we're not in lockdown, from 4 to close to 6 o'clock, it takes forever to drive down Route 52 to make a left at that street where CVS is, which is where you're going to be exiting as well. If anything, the scale of the project looks even more prepossessing than it did originally. And I just want to say I'm not in favor.
Okay, thank you. The next person, Vivi is with the project team, right? Okay. The next person is someone named Al. Al, if you could unmute yourself and identify yourself, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, good evening. My name's Al. I attend the Church of the Nazarene. I've attended that church for approximately 25 years. I think it's a wonderful project. I think it addresses a need in the community, especially when it comes to the elderly. I have an elderly, family, and it would be wonderful for them to stay in the area. So it is a worthwhile project. I think it's quite good looking. I also want to address the issue of the education building. Whatever was said about the education building, it was a daycare. It's not a daycare. It's a school for special needs children. Currently, it is only the education building for classrooms for the church. That's the only thing it is now. It's the only thing it has been for the past few years. I understand the history may have been many years ago. It may have been a school for special needs children. But in my 25 years, it has never been a school for special needs children. It is strictly classrooms for the church. Thank you for allowing me the time to say this. And again, I am definitely in favor of the project.
Okay, thank you. The next person up is Chrissy Tartaglione. Please unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Chrissy Tartaglione, Tartaglione. You had it, and then you went back. There you are.
Sorry. I actually don't have a comment. I'm listening in to sort of get all perspectives. So no comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Next is Sharon Forbes. If you want to speak.
Hi, my name is Sharon Forbes, as you said. I'm confused, I guess, as to why the project folks are thinking that this will not affect the traffic on 52, especially with the idea of having, now I understand a few different things were said, but some kind of daycare place also there. I did read that the building itself, there's the project people feel that there's not going to be a lot of cars for that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't know why they think that. But the daycare itself would definitely have a lot of traffic for dropping off and picking kids up. And I believe those would be around the same times that 52 is just unbearable, as we all know and have probably experienced. So I'm just would love to understand why there's the thought that it would not affect the traffic. And then the other thought, I guess, is when I looked at the pictures that were shown before, the church building, the angle that the pictures were drawn at actually made the church building look bigger than the back area of this housing, affordable housing building. So it kind of, to me, looked like it wasn't really showing us exactly how big it will look, because the church is a nice size. It's not huge, but it's a nice size. But this 3 or 4 story building behind it, I would think would look bigger. So that just seemed odd to me. So those are my biggest concern is 52 and how big this project is for the space that they want to build it on, and obviously needing 7 variances for, because the lot is not wasn't zoned for this type of building. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next person up is Jessica Volz. If you want to speak, please unmute yourself. Jessica Volz.
We have no comment. We're opposed to the to this, but no further comments.
Okay, thank you. Kay McGrath, if you want to speak, please unmute yourself.
Oh, hi, this is Kevin McGrath. I own McGrath Realty. And I've been following the application and the planning on this. I think it's going to be a great asset to the village of Fishkill. I agree with the developers. We manage development similar to this, and traffic impact would be minimal. The traffic patterns for seniors are, different times than normal commuters. I think it's going to bring in people to the village to go to the restaurants. Our real estate company is in the process of moving to the village of Fishkill, and I think it would be, again, a great asset for the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next person is phone number 914-602-6885. Hello, please identify yourself.
Hi.
Hi. Did you want to comment on the potential environmental impacts of the project? Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Now, yes, now I can.
Yes, I'm in favor of this project, and this was a very good presentation. I just wish my mom was here to be able to take advantage of this complex. She's 86 and by herself in Kansas, and so I'm just excited for this project to happen. Thank you.
And what was your name?
Oh, Kathy.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, the next person is phone number 845-235-4688. Would you like to comment? Are you there? 845-235-4688. Okay. The next person after that is phone number 845-896-5283. Would you like to comment?
Yes.
Please identify yourself and then you have 3 minutes.
My name is Jamie, and I live in close proximity to the church, as close as anybody else to the church property, and I'm really not in favor of the project. I have probably a lot of the same concerns as other people. The overall impact that this is going to have on the surrounding area, further changing the character of the area, the environmental impact. I mean, I'm assuming the whole place is going to be paved. So where's all the water that's going to be generated going? It's going to be flooding the surrounding properties. What's going to happen? The water table's already a problem.
Okay.
And I mean, what about privacy screens? This building is going to be 3 stories high. If each story is at least 10 feet, then that's at least 30 feet. Is it going to have an attic? That's another 10 feet. What's going to be done to screen it visually? Is anything going to be done to screen it visually, or? Yeah. And what about sewage? I assume it's going to have a sewage system. Are the surrounding properties, will we be able to be tied into it? Is that something that would be done for us? Because we're kind of having this pushed on us, and I don't know that anybody wants it too much.
Are you
I have a septic tank. What impact is this going to have on my septic tank?
Okay, we're writing down all your questions.
Traffic control. I mean, the curvature of the road between there and Wheaton Avenue is terrible anyway. I never make a left-hand turn out of Wheaton Avenue. I'd be afraid to. I'm afraid to on a good day in clear weather. And disposal, the garbage that's going to be generated from this facility, what's going to be the schedule, the times for pickup and the frequency, and where's it going to be? Is there going to be some kind of control that people don't come in and drop their garbage at all hours? Because I know that doesn't happen now, because sometimes I hear a loud thud or a clang in the middle of the night, and I can look over into the churchyard and see that somebody's dropping their garbage there. I probably hear that conservatively 3 to 5 times a month.
Okay.
And I guess that's about it.
Okay. So
for now.
Okay.
Yeah, visual aesthetic screening.
All right, so you are out of time at this point, but we've written down all of your comments, and there will be a public hearing on this in the future as well.
And we'll be notified of it in advance?
Yes.
Okay, by certified mail again?
I'm not sure at this point, but we will discuss the notification. I assume it'll be the same as how these notices went out.
Yeah, because I'd like to go to any other future meetings about this, because I think it's going to impact all of the surrounding properties more than not, and not in a good way.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Okay, the next person up is phone number 845-629-2833. Are you there? And do you want to speak? Hi, person at 845-629-2833. Do you want to speak on the project?
Yes, please.
Okay, please identify yourself and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Bob. I would like to know, is there going to be a basement under this building?
Okay, so the applicant is going to either address the questions at the end or in a supplemental submission. So all of your questions are being recorded and written down.
Okay. Okay. One question is the basement. Another question is, this says a nursery childcare facility. I'm assuming that's just like a daycare, non-resident, and children under the age of 5.
Okay.
And again, same concerns: traffic, aesthetics, the size of the building fitting in with the surrounding area. Not really in favor of it. And that's about all I have to say right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next person is 845-416-7690. Do you want to speak on the project? Are you there? 845-416-7690.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, I was just trying to figure out the construction to the site. Where is the construction vehicles going to go? Are they going to go down Florence Avenue, or are they going to go down through Main Street? And second of all, I want to say Yankees are winning 3-1 against Nationals. We're getting back to some sort of normalcy in our life besides these Zoom meetings. But I'm trying to figure out, I'm a lifelong resident of the area. I moved away, started my career, moved back, and I'm living over here with 2 dead ends with 2 young children. What kind of vehicle traffic will be put through? You know, as of right now, we are already having, we're having vehicles go down 50 miles an hour down Wellesley with, you know, no policing from, you know, the village or the town. What kind of speed limit is going to be put into place and whatnot, or ordinance, I'm sorry. But also, what access is going to be put in? I read the last, the publication that was put out that there's going to be a gate that's put in for the last 2 residents. But if you look at the prior proposal, it looks like there was a park put in the back. But if you look at the proposal that was submitted to the village that was put on tonight, there is no park. Is the park still going to be put in effect, or is there no park going to be put in effect? And what kind of gate? Is it going to be a sensor control gate, or is it going to be a lock gate? You know, that's just something, you know, with 2 young children that we go on nightly walks, daily walks. Are we going to be looking for construction vehicles, you know, watching out, doing 40 miles an hour down Florence? Or are we going to watch, you know, no offense, you know, the elderly people going down the street doing 40, trying to think that they can go into there instead of going around. If you lived here, you know that when traffic backs up, I can bank on the fact there's at least 20 vehicles trying to do a U-turn in my house, in front of my house, onto my lawn, because I think it's a cut through. Is that something that's going to be addressed by the developer, or is this something that's going to be addressed by the town? Because as we know, there's a no outlet sign in the beginning of Florence, but yet no one has followed it. And I've seen multiple people do U-turns, basically where they turn around on my front yard and my neighbor's front yard instead of following the no outlet sign. Or is there going to be new street signs put in, no left-hand turn, no outlet, no access unless local? Is that something that is going to be considered through the village or the town, and how is that going to be enforced?
Okay. So I don't know how long you've been on for, but all of your comments have been recorded and will be addressed by the applicant.
Okay. And I got one more thing. I oppose this, and hopefully the Yankees have a great year. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's your time. Thank you. So at this point, is there anyone on that is waiting to speak that hasn't spoke? I'm going to unmute everyone for the moment just to see if we can catch someone. There are a few people identified just as iPhone. So if you want to speak, now's your chance.
Hello?
Yes?
Can you can hear me? This is the first time I've done this. My name is Jenny and I live in the village and I'm opposed to this project. I have a list of things. I'm wondering if lead agency status has been determined for this project as yet. I'm opposed to it because of the density. It's like how many ants can we put on a postage stamp? I'm a little bit concerned about the way affordable housing and senior housing terminology has been tossed around. There's a large difference between affordable and senior. Listening to a lot of the people in favor of this project, it sounds like the seniors have already filled it up. However, we all know that there's usually a long waiting list for senior housing. So I'm also wondering what criteria will be set. Will there be a certain number of these senior housing or affordable housing units set aside for current residents of Fishkill? How long will you have had to have been a resident of Fishkill to be eligible for one of these units? I don't want people to get fooled into thinking they're going to have senior housing available to them when they're not. The other thing I'm concerned about is how this will be handled on the tax rolls, how it will be assessed. Will it be totally exempt, partially exempt? Will they pay taxes on any portion of this project? And if they are going to pay taxes on any portion of this project, how will that be guaranteed that it won't become tax exempt in the future? I'm also concerned with sewage. I'm assuming, maybe wrongly so, that they will be on village sewer. I've just noticed in the environmental notice bulletin that the village of Fishkill has applied to increase their discharge from 0.5 million gallons per day to 0.79 million gallons per day. And that they will be adding, another clarifier in some form. So I'm wondering if this application by the village is in anticipation of this project, or if future expansion will be necessary because of this project. How will they handle their sewage, and how will any expansion required by the sewage treatment plant be paid for? I think that about covers my concerns, except to say that I'm opposed to this project. Even though I'm a senior and I could use senior housing, there's too many questions left to be answered as to exactly how that aspect of this project will be handled. Thank you and have a good evening.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Again, I'm going to unmute everyone quickly just to see if there's anyone else who has not spoken who wants a chance to speak. Please speak up now.
They're making enough money off of it, they can afford it.
Going once, going twice. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to hand the meeting back over to the chair. Chairman, you should decide tonight whether you want to keep the ability, whether you want to accept written comments for 5 days after today for people that may have been listening and are still considering this, or may have had technical difficulties. We had a few folks that were not able to get their working properly.
Yes, I think we'll keep it open, so if anybody wishes to send emails to the village or to send a letter to the village for the next 5 days, will be open to that. And at that time, the applicant can address all the comments.
So you'd be accepting comments until on the seeker, until the close of business on the 28th?
Correct.
All right, so do you want a motion and a second to do that?
Yes, I entertain a motion.
Teresa Cucciolo, board member, so moved.
Raylene Van Gelderen, second.
We have a motion and second. Secretary, take a roll call vote, please.
Where's the Angie?
Teresa, your vote?
Yes.
Raylene?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Hans?
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. So that wraps up this session at this time, and we'll move on to the next item of business.
So Chairman, we have a couple of things we wanted to talk about tonight too, since we still have so much time together that we wanted to sort of chat about the cadence as we had talked about in earlier July. Obviously, some of this stuff is just already, some of these questions are actually, I think all of these questions candidly have been answered in the materials we've submitted to date, and it's just going to be a question of pulling out the answers where they are to make them more readily available. I think, you know, in consideration of the last commentator, I think it's important to really note that the legislation that's being proposed is 62 and over. And the federal government regulates through fair housing, the housing of older persons under HOPA. The draft legislation has been sitting for a long time. We do need to get back to the Village Board of Trustees to confirm that they are still fully supportive of the legislation as drafted and as you all have had input on it. What I was hoping that we could do, because I do believe that all the questions have been answered, is that what we could be moving towards is having your planner draft a negative declaration for your consideration at the next meeting. Because as I said, I believe all the questions have already been answered, and it's just a question of pulling them out from the materials that we previously submitted, and that your staff has the materials in front of them in order to substantiate that the project as proposed will not have a significant adverse environmental impact, whether, you know, on all the subjects. Obviously, there's not going to be an effect as to septic systems because we're in a sewer pipe that we're connecting in our own new sewer line. The traffic, it's DOT's road and they've issued a conceptual approval. You know, so all the issues have been addressed. It's a question of culling the materials together. I think we can get you the latest, assuming the 2020 AMIs have come out from US HUD. We can get that 80% AMI number to you, but we're relying on HUD. That we provided previously the 2019 number when we submitted earlier. So, I mean, I think it's just to be very clear, it's going to be a 62 and over project. It's going to have 10% that's inclusionary. That means of the 62 and over qualifications per the HOPA amendments and as per the legislation that's been submitted, of those people who are in that pool, 10% who do not meet the market rate will be able to do it at 80% AMI. And a lot of those things that people were talking about, by the way, violate fair housing, such as having resident requirements that has been consistently found to be discriminatory and segregationist, especially if you look at the case law on Long Island. So we believe we've done everything that, and provided all the materials. Like I said, some of the questions, I understand that it's voluminous, so people may not have had been the ability to put their finger on it right away, and we can do that. But I think the best way for all of us to agree and come to a conclusion is to have your planner start drafting the negative declaration for us to go over at the next meeting in early August.
Well, our next meeting our regular meeting would be August 20th.
Yep, we'd love to be in a position to, on August 20th, to have you take action. And like I said, we you know, it's a double-edged sword, right? We believe we've submitted everything for you all to do that. As your planner's drafting it, she may or may not agree with that. So, you know, it's a great way for all of us. It's the proof of the pudding, right? And it's when you sit down and you start the drafting.
Well, we'll look into that. You'll be on the agenda for the 20th. And if there's any other questions come up, Victoria and Larry and Sarah will be in touch with you. And if everything is all right, then we can discuss the possibility of issuing a negative deck on the 20th.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you. I just sort of like a dinner reservation. I wanted to at least make sure it was on the table to discuss. So thank you.
So I have a question, Neil, relative to your request. At our last meeting, we went through a short little litany of items that we felt were required to be able to be supportive of a neg deck. I got one piece of information from Joe today. I looked at it briefly relative to the soil testing. And Joe, I'm assuming that that's meant to be sort of your certification that you believe that the soil testing that's already been done is sufficient to demonstrate that the stormwater designs will be accommodated by the necessary separations to groundwater. And if that's in case, if that is in fact the case of what you're expressing, I think I'll check that one off the list because I know that we've got the other tests following up in the next couple of days or next week sometime or next 2 weeks. But there are some plan items that are out there as well, Neil, you know, including the water line plan for one that we haven't seen. And there are a couple of other items that needed some clarification.
Right, and I think, you know, I think we are very close on that. And I think as the chairman said, that's stuff that we, you know, should be going back and forth on, you know, to make sure any last aspects that relate to seeker have been addressed in advance of the 20th so they can be drafted appropriately. And then obviously any site plan issues, you know, can be addressed once the seeker process is completed. So that way we can, you know, go to the ZBA for variances, go to the village board for rezoning and remapping. And then obviously we're coming back to you, presupposing that the village board does adopt the legislation. We're going to need a special permit from you for the senior housing. We're going to need site plan approval from you all as well.
So
continuing that
we're
information
on the same
exchange.
page. There's additional materials that need to be submitted prior to consideration of a neg deck. And this material's got to be submitted before we can consider the neg deck. Can we come to terms with when we're going to have that? So it's not the 19th?
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. And you know, you'll be getting, I'm sure you'll be getting emails from us by the end of the week to make sure that schedule works from you.
Okay. Very good.
I was thinking more like the 20th, Larry.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
You know, a lot of cases settle on the courthouse doors, right?
Yeah.
No, obviously we have to, you know, in order for your board to take a hard look, we have to get the information to you in a timely fashion.
Right. And I, Joe, I don't think a lot of the items remaining are really heavy lifts. So, you know, the earlier you can get them to us, the better. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but, you know, these are some significant requests you're making of the village. So try to give us some time to analyze. Sarah, I don't know if you've got anything in particular too that, you know, you might want to add to that, but I know that we want to take a good hard look at a couple things.
Yeah, I would just echo what you're saying, Larry. I know that you had more comments at this point than we've had. We do need adequate time to be able to incorporate it into any potential neg deck that we're writing. And then we have to have enough time for Larry and I to coordinate, because I do not do the heavy lifting on the engineering work. Larry does. So it has to run through him first.
So Joe, the real big one that I'm looking for is that water line.
Okay. Yeah. We've indicated that we will show it on the plan, so.
So the earlier you can get that, the earlier I can get that to other people in the village to look at, and, you know, the better chances you're gonna have of us being comfortable to give some recommendations to Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah, understood. And we've been meeting with Dave as well in the other departments as well about that. So we've gotten some good feedback on that issue, and we're consistent with what we've always said as far as how we're going to address that with you all.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any of the board members have any questions before we go on to the next item? No?
No.
I do not, Teresa Cucciolo.
Okay.
Really, no.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you very much, everybody. We really appreciate your time. We know there's a lot of detail to work through when we talk about this application, so thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is a referral for a bill that the Village of Fishkill is thinking about as far as warehouse usage. Tom, do you want to sort of give us a little insight as to the reasoning behind this?
Okay, well, this is two-pronged. Initially, there was a request from both the Bottle Redemption Center and the owners of Lord Day Realty. I'm sorry, the Bottle Redemption Center was going to be at 986 Main Street, and the Lord Day Realty, which is located at 1004 Main Street, was my opinion, excuse me, at that point that the Bottle Redemption Center would need a zoning amendment. And speaking with Sarah this morning, we've agreed that I was in error in that. And in fact, they haven't had the right to be there. So that was easy. Lord Day Realty still has a request for, I'll call it mini storage units in the rear of the shopping complex. They are currently in violation of zoning and they cannot use them. They want to try and make that right if they can. This amendment, if it's adopted, would do that. And I looked over Sarah's comments, and I'm in agreement that we do need to tighten up what was originally written. It was originally submitted to the village board, I'm sorry.
Tom, this is Victoria speaking. When you say mini storage units, can you just explain, are you talking about like temporary or outdoor storage units? Or are you talking about the kind where people, third parties come to the property to store their items?
I'm sorry, I should clarify that. These are actually, what the plaza did was they split the retail space in the front in half lengthwise, if you understand where I'm going with this. And the rear portion of the building is sectioned off, so you can only access it from the rear part of the building. The retail stores in the front obviously remain, although with half the square footage they had initially. These are built in, they're not temporary pods or anything like that. They are actual, what you'll find in self-storage units, except there's only like, I believe, 5 of them. They're not a major, it's not a major complex like a Guardian self-storage type thing. It's just a few individual units.
It's like those pod things?
No, it is not. It's built into, it's a part of the building.
And what place was this originally for? The Bottle Redemption one that just got approved down by the by Gold's Gym?
No, that's been taken out of this. That was originally part of this. And then speaking with the planner, I am in agreement that the way the zoning is written for that plaza, they're acting as of right. So they're actually not part of this amendment. Okay. This amendment now affects the rear of 1004 Main Street. There was, I believe, 5 doors that were cut into the back of the building quite some time ago in violation of zoning laws, and they have been dormant since then. This would allow them to utilize them if they so choose to.
So, Tom, I do have a question for clarification because maybe I didn't understand this when we spoke this morning. I know that these aren't pod type of storage. It's where, like Victoria said, where a third party comes in, but they're not actually separate from the building. They're installed in the rear of the building.
No, what they did was they took the original building.
Mm-hmm.
The stores originally went from the front of the retail front to the back of the building. The landlord came by a few years ago and put partition walls.
Okay.
The entire width of the building, cutting the retail stores in half, basically. Then took the rear half and made that storage units.
Okay. So just the reason I was asking for that clarification, because one of the recommendations that I had made was that we could possibly include this in the outdoor storage section, but I was thinking these were actual units that were put like a separate type pod unit, like you would find at a self-storage, that were outside the building. This is actually a portion of the floor area of the building.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Tom, when I talked to the mayor about this, he said that in no way, shape, or form were they thinking about having somebody come in and create a new structure as a storage unit. He said, no, that wasn't it. He said that there was unused space in the rear of the building and that the tenants would be storing their stuff there. Now, is that true, or are they going to go out and say, this is storage so that I could put something there, or neighbors or anybody can come in and just rent a storage unit?
My understanding is that they're available to whoever wants them. Like you could put excess furniture in there or whatever. It's just like a regular self-storage unit, except for the very few of them.
Well, another question I have is, how do we control this then if the front of the building, the tenant in the front of the building sort of goes away and the landlord says, well, I can't really rent out, nobody wants to rent this space, whatever, so I'll just use the front of it now for the storage too. We're going to have to make sure that that doesn't happen, because now all of a sudden we have a storage unit.
Well, I think the way this is worded, and Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the stipulates it has to be in the rear of the building. So they could not put it on Main Street, visible from Main Street, it has to be in the rear of the structure. Am I correct, Sarah?
Yeah, that is correct. We would definitely want to put in some kind of language that this is in the rear of the building, being accessed from the rear, that it's not visible from Main Street. We may want to tweak the language that I had written somewhat, because like I said, I was under the impression that these weren't actually part of the floor area of the existing building. I thought they had been added outside. So what I'm thinking is possibly a combination of both of the recommendations I have here, is that where we talk about the creation of a micro storage use, and maybe that's not the best way to describe this. Maybe it's storage or something like that, where a portion of an existing building that can be accessed from the rear, it can be used for storage that's not directly accessory to one of the businesses that are currently in the building, right? Because if this was storage associated with a retail use, it would just be accessory storage to the retail use, maybe where they keep their inventory, or if it's a hardware store, it's where they keep their lumber. But in this case, we're actually allowing a third party to come in and use some of that floor space that is not currently being used. But what, Hans, I completely agree with you. We don't want a storefront turning into the storage space. So we need to put language in there that only allows it to be accessed from the rear of the building, and that it's not visible from Main Street. And it really, in this case, how it has been constructed, it sounds like it probably, no one would probably even realize it was there. But we want to make sure that future uses would also be done like this.
You may also want to limit the amount of the building or the space that can be dedicated to the storage, so you don't have fake empty storefronts.
Yeah.
I would just suggest that, like 6 or less.
What about if somebody wants to come in, we say this is storage and say, I don't know, an accountant wants to open an office back there where, it's not a lot of foot traffic, but can you go back and forth?
That's always the problem. You'll find that in self-storage buildings too. Believe it or not, people actually take those cubicles and make them into offices.
Oh.
That's very hard to enforce. But yeah, I mean, that is always a potential.
I mean, I think in a case like that, Teresa, it's a good point, but as long as it's a permitted use within the district in the building, our concern really isn't foot traffic to the business, because that's understandable, like you said, like an account where it's somebody going, they know their accountant's back there, so they don't really need walk by traffic. Office is a permitted use in the district, so I think it'd be fine if, they expanded floor area back there, then they would get into parking calculations and whether they had adequate parking. But in this case, if a storage unit then gets converted back to floor area to rent out to a business, I think we would be okay with that.
Okay.
Any other comments? Well, Sarah, why don't you rewrite this thing with all the comments that we've had and get them to the board for our review, and we'll look it over, and then let's see, we're not going to meet until the 20th. Angie, when's the next two board meetings in August?
August 3rd and August 17th.
Okay. How about if we do this, if Sarah can get this down and get it to everybody, and everybody can review it by say the 13th, and everybody is in favor of it at that time, what I'll do is I'll make individual phone calls, and if everybody's in agreement with what Sarah has to say and that, then we could forward that information to the village board for their meeting on the 17th, because the village board will have to then go to a secret review, and at that time they would have to refer it back to the planning board for review also. Is that correct, Victoria?
So this is Victoria speaking. Just so we don't get into an open meetings law violation, I would recommend that you can send it around to everyone, but then we have a special meeting, via Zoom, if that's authorized at that point still, to authorize you to sign and send the letter.
Can I ask, this is Teresa speaking, can I ask why we have to be such a rush for this? Because it's already existing. So can't we just wait till the 20th?
Well, why don't we do that? Let's just wait till the 20th, and then we'll review it the 20th, and then get it to the village board in September. That'd be the easiest way all the way around. And that way, if anything any other things come up there, they could be addressed by the 20th. Is that all right with everybody on the board?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good with me too. I can definitely have it written by the 20th.
You won't be busy writing something else up?
I'll be working on something else too.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the agenda items I have. Does anybody have any comments or anything for Tom or Victoria or Sarah or Larry that they'd like to bring up this time?
So Sarah, what do you think about telling them they have to get everything to us by the 6th of August?
I'm fine with that, Larry.
That would give us 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and that gives them 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fair.
I think that's very fair.
I mean, it's not like it's going to be a full submission, so they're going to give us some items. So I think that's generous on our part, and I think it's reasonable on there to expect them to do that.
I think it is as well. I think it's very fair, and it still gives us time to review it and incorporate it into the document.
Okay.
And for you and I to coordinate, because
Yes.
I don't venture into engineering.
Okay, so Victoria, can you tell Neil he's got to get everything to us by the 6th?
Sure. I'm just looking at the date of the 6th one.
It's the 6th.
It's 2 weeks
That's a
exactly.
2 weeks.
It's a
Yeah.
Thursday, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today, and then we got 2 weeks after that.
I'm gonna email them right now. August 6th. Hard to believe we're in August already.
Yes.
Yeah, I got an email and a call from Joe today asking for time to discuss things before the meeting, and there was no way it was happening. I just couldn't get to it. So that's what I want to avoid. I don't want to see something on the 19th and saying, you know what, we didn't get this to you in time, but we're really hoping to get a neg deck.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, we definitely need adequate time to review it.
Yeah.
And incorporate it into the document.
Okay, I'm doing that right now.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? Board members?
I thought that meeting went very well, Hans.
Yeah.
Victoria, nice job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, nice job.
Yeah.
Everyone
I
was
think
well
we're getting
behaved.
Yeah.
I think we're getting the Zoom thing down.
Yeah, we had up to, I think, 42 people on it at one point, so.
I was
Yeah.
on a meeting last night, on a public hearing last night. I was the applicant, representing the applicant, and I got roasted. And there was no control. Everybody was unmuted all at the same time.
Oh,
And I literally just had to sit and listen to it for like an hour.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was painful. This was very nice.
Good.
Nicely done.
Good. Power of technology.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and if nobody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Teresa did that.
Second, Raylene.
Okay, I have a motion second. Roll call vote, please.
Teresa,
Yes.
Raylene,
Yes.
Brian, Yes. Hans.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Mr.
stop
Chairman.
recording. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Chair- Can I ask Dave to stay after this call also, after the meeting?
Right.